Hi everyone. Well, it's been very clear for a long time that we've had an affordability issue across all of Canada. It started in the big cities, Toronto, Vancouver, but more recently it's spread to some of the rural areas as well. The government always has tried to come in and cool the market down with different policies, but the policies have always been, aimed at the demand side of things. They've introduced foreign buyer taxes. They made it harder to qualify for mortgages, and their idea was that would cool down demand, which would cool down the whole market. That hasn't worked at all. And over the last 10 years in Ontario, house prices have gone up 180%. At the same time, incomes have only gone up by 38%. And if you look at all the G7 countries, Canada has the fewest units per population out of any of those countries. In Ontario alone, we're 1.2 million units below the G7 average. So clearly we have a supply issue here that we've talked about many times. So the government now is kind of switching courses. Instead of trying to focus on the demand side, they want to try to focus on the supply side. So they created a task force that was aimed at combating affordability housing. And if you want to read, so that task force just published a paper. It's 35 pages long. You can find a link to my profile. It's quite long, like I said, so you might want to sit back and read it, but it is actually very interesting. And so I went through it, and the biggest conclusion, obviously, from that report is we need more housing. And their suggestion is to create 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years to try to fix this problem. Now, the problem is anybody who's ever tried to build a home, and developers who try to build high-rise, things like that, they know there's so much red tape and issues. It takes 2, 3 to 5 years just to get your permits in place. So the report has highlighted a number of problems and then also given some solutions. And out of those problems, I kind of want to look at 3 of the problems they highlighted. The first one is that the planning process in Ontario and Toronto is too politicized. There's too much NIMBYism, and if you don't know what that means not in my backyard. So neighbors have too much say in what happens in their neighborhood. And the problem is that councillors need those constituents' votes to be re-elected again. So they don't really push back when the NIMBYs say, I don't want that 6-story building in my backyard, or I don't want that 30-story condo down the street from me. So it just really creates a lot of red tape. And speaking of red tape, if you look at the Planning Act, in 1970, the Planning Act was comprised of 17,000 words. Now, that same Planning Act has 96,000 words in it. That's more than 5 times the amount of verbiage throughout the report, which clearly illustrates how hard it is to get building permits in Toronto, Ontario, and across all of Canada. So, their short form solution there was to require less public consultation. Another problem they highlighted was just that land is underutilized. If you look at just Toronto alone, 70% of the land that is zoned for residential use is only zoned for single family or semi-detached homes. That doesn't allow condos to go up, that doesn't allow apartment buildings to go up, that doesn't allow even just 4plexes and 5plexes to be built. So, the obvious answer would be, okay, well, why don't we expand more into the greenbelt? But the problem there is it puts way too much strain on the already small amount of agricultural land we have. So the solution in that case is to allow more as-of-right building. And as-of-right building means that as long as your building plan meets a set of criteria, then you can go ahead and build without going through the huge planning process, without going to the committee of adjustment and things like that. So the government's done okay with this lately. In 2019, they made it as of right to put basement apartments in your houses. They also allowed laneway suites as of 2019. And then just earlier this year, they've started allowing garden suites as well. But we need to go further than that. They need to start allowing more, single-family homes to be converted to 3plexes, 4plexes, 5plexes, etc. They need to allow more single-family homes to be torn down and in their place put up a 4-story, just small, maybe 5-6 unit condo building in the middle of a neighborhood. So that's the report suggesting that kind of thing. And one of the other problems they highlighted there was just that building materials are too expensive. And there is a product called mass timber, which is an engineered compressed wood that has been proven to be as strong as concrete or steel in certain applications. And those applications are usually up to as high as 12-story buildings. So it's a much cheaper product to use. It's a much easier product to use. But the problem is the Ontario Building Code doesn't allow builders and developers to use it. So obviously the solution there is to change the Ontario Building Code to allow for products like that, which will then speed up the building process, make it a little more economical, and hopefully that also allows housing to go up a little bit faster. So anyways, that was sort of my big takeaways from the report. I would encourage you, again, it's in my profile, my Instagram. I would encourage you to sit down and read it. And as always, if you have any questions about it or just want to talk to me about it, feel free to give me a call anytime, and I'd love to sit down and chat with you. Anyways, have a great day. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.